What's going on, guys? I've got something awesome to share with you today. That is the Radiomaster Pocket Radio. It is getting announced today. Pre-orders are live if you are seeing this. This little guy right here, this little guy, Express LRS, built in for how much? $65. Don't worry, we're gonna go into all of the details, so stick around and I'll tell you all about this fantastic new radio. So let's talk about all the things that this radio is bringing to the table. In this form factor, we are packing in either Express LRS or a multi-protocol module. The CC2500 variant is going to come in at $54.99 and the Express LRS will set you back $64.99. So $65 for Express LRS built into a controller. That's a pretty good steal. Let's talk about the sensors and everything. We have Hall effect gimbals. We have two position switches right here. We have a momentary. We have a pot, a potentiometer, scroll wheel. We have two 3-position switches. And then on the front, we also have 5-way trim tabs. So these are click buttons and directional trim tabs. Now you can use those for trim with your fixed wing planes, but they can also be repurposed to be buttons for multi-rotors and anything that you've got a flight controller in. I mean, you could use it for flaps or something on a fixed wing as well. You know, the possibilities are endless when you start diving into Edge TX. Speaking of which, this comes pre-installed with Edge TX. Now, moving on to the exterior of the radio itself, we do have a folding antenna here that will rotate. So we can get vertical polarization or horizontal polarization. That is a big deal for me personally. I don't like the horizontally polarized antennas because you always have a null out at the ends. And the only time I've ever had issues with my control link dropping out since moving to Crossfire years ago is flying in those nulls. So when I go and fly, I will put my antenna vertical so that I have the nulls that I have are pointed straight up above me or below me. The only time I fly with my antenna like this is if I'm doing like a building dive and primarily flying directly above myself. Also on this radio we have one of the mini module bays. You could put your own Radiomaster, what do they call that thing? Oh my gosh, I'm drawing a blank. You can put your own Express LRS module on the back. You can put Crossfire, you can put Ghost, you can put whatever protocol that you want on this bad boy. We have some rubber hand grips here. The gimbals themselves, let's check this out, guys. They will unscrew and stow in the back of the radio. Now I know I always liked the folding gimbals that you come on the Tango 2, and while these don't fold, they do stow away a lot like the gimbals on my DJI Mini DJI Mini 2 controller that I use. Let's see, what else do we have going for it? The controls are the same layout as your typical Radiomaster. We have a scroll wheel, we have the system button and the model button, along with pages, exit, and what's the top one again? Return. I'm sorry, pages, return, and the telemetry button at the bottom. So navigating this is going to be a lot like navigating any other Radiomaster radio if you're familiar with those. The one thing this annoys me about Radiomaster radios is we have two USB ports. So we have one USB port on the bottom, which is going to be your charging port, and this will charge your 18650s that are in the radio itself. And then we have another USB port on the top, which is used for serial communication. If you're flashing the radio, if you're accessing the SD card contents, if you're using this as a joystick for a simulator. That is the primary downside for this, because with a lot of radios, the USB port that you are using for the simulator will also charge the radio, so you never run into a situation where the radio dies while you're using the simulator. However, with Radiomaster, that is a very real possibility. We have a headphone jack, and this says DSC. I'm a horrible reviewer. I'm not sure exactly what this is. I think it might be a trainer port here. I'm just speculating. It could also be a head tracker port. Don't hate me. I fly things, okay? I fly things. As far as the gimbal feel goes, I will say it is not like, I'm spoiled. Look, I've got a TX16S, AG01 gimbals. I came from the TBS radios. I had a Tango 2 for years. I ran the Mamba for a little while, and now my daily driver is this guy right here, which I absolutely freaking love, and that is my Radiomaster Boxer. I got AG01 gimbals. I got that nice slimmed down mod. I need to try out a ceramic or a patch antenna to go on the interior. I've just been lazy. This has been doing it good enough. I also carry the Ranger module from Radiomaster, and if I really want to push my range, if I'm flying some fixed wing, doing some long range, I'll pop in my Ranger module and get all the range that I could possibly need, pumping out up to 2 watts. You know your boy Wesley Vardy got 100 kilometers on that module. So as far as gimbal feel goes, I'm a little bit spoiled, but form factor wise, how this fits in the hand, it is a very nice feeling radio. So let's talk about how it fits ergonomically. I'm a thumb guy. I fly thumbs. I'm not a pincher. I have flown a little bit of every hold, so I can speak a little bit about how accessible buttons would be for all of your grips. And as a thumb flyer, I don't like to use a lanyard either. I'll usually rest it on my big belly here. And when I do that with this radio, you'll notice where my index fingers end up. One index finger here is on my my scroll wheel, or one of my fingers lands on the scroll wheel here, and the other one lands on the momentary. The 2-position switch is oddly like a little bit out of place. I have to reach up in order to hit the arm disarm switch. Now what's interesting is if I switch to a pinch or a hybrid pinch on this radio, my middle fingers line up really comfortably with the 2-position switches. I feel like the switch layout for this radio caters a little bit better to the pinch grip than it does to the thumb. That doesn't mean that I can't fly it as a thumb flyer. I could also repurpose this momentary switch to be a toggle on and off for arming. You can speak about whether or not that's really safe. Me personally, I always do a 2-switch arm, not in Betaflight. I do it in the Edge TX programming, where I have to flip this one down and then arm. Same thing for my TX16S, which I still fly. If I'm using anything with Crossfire, I'll use this guy. I have to flip this down and then arm. And then I know if I pinch these two together that I am double disarmed. Okay, so ergonomically, the button, the 2-position is a little awkward to reach when you thumb grip. Now, that's with it fitting in my hands just like so. If I were to kind of rotate my hands, I can find a comfortable grip where I have my thumbs on the sticks and my index fingers on the 2-position. It just feels slightly unnatural. Let's see, ergonomically, other things that are little gripes about this radio. We do have trim switches. You can fly this with fixed wing. Do I think that the trim switches are great? I can't say that I do. It's a 5-direction little button here. You can look up close. Right here. Up, down, left, right. When holding the radio and trying to fly with it and hit those trim switches, it could be really easy if I wanted to give it some nose up trim to actually bump it to the side and give it some roll trim. So I'm not sold that the trim switches are the best for using while flying, you know, fixed wing stuff where you actually need trim and you need to take your fingers off the sticks as briefly as possible. I would prefer a more traditional trim switch. What I will say is the form factor of this radio, it is freaking tiny. I don't think that the camera is going to do it justice. I have friends who have the Zorro, and the Zorro in comparison to this radio, I think that the footprint of the pocket is almost identical to the Zorro. And I know, you know what, now that we've mentioned the Zorro, a lot of you are going to be asking, do the AG01s for the Zorro fit in? I took a look at it. I did some measurements with my calipers. I don't actually have AGO1s for the Zorro handy, but I did get my hands on a set that weren't installed in a radio. And while the opening on the face of the radio is the same size, the mounting pattern is not the same as the AGO1 for the Zorro. And so I don't see how those are going to fit. You would have to cut a little bit of the PCB out, and I think that you are just going to have to, you know, I think they're going to have to release another AGO1 for the Pocket if that is what they do. But the interesting thing to me is that this radio is a smaller, not smaller, this radio is the same form factor as the Zorro, fits 18650s without modification, and for a lot of people, they like these style of switches that are, you know, they're a lot like the Tango 2, Mamba, and the Radiomaster on, I'm sorry, and the Boxer on the shoulder switches, right? I think that there is a benefit to that. It's a lot harder to break these switches if you've got this radio floating around in a bag. It is going to be safer, and the fact that you can take the sticks ends off of your gimbals to protect them. Overall, I think that this is a fantastic option, and for somebody that is looking to get into FPV or RC in general, $65 freaking dollars for a radio that has Express LRS built in, it is impossible to beat this guy. If anybody that I know, like college student, limited budget, you want to get a radio and a simulator and try out FPV, I really think that this is the way to go. Absolutely. With Express LRS, you can even use the Bluetooth LE functionality on the Express LRS module in order to play wirelessly on the simulator. I've had mixed results with that, so I don't want to say that that's 100% the best option. All right, hang on. I got to change the battery on this camera. I apologize for the haphazard nature. This is really more of a first look at the radio than it is a full-on review. I do plan to make some follow-up videos. One thing that I want to take a look at, I've had the radio completely apart. And if you look, I don't think that you're going to be able to really see it here, but you can see through that transparent plastic. Speaking of which, they sell different shells. If you want a pink one, a green one, 15 bucks, you can get just about any color that you want. Lots of neon colors. I'll pop it up on the screen right here. But they sent me a pink case to go with it. I'm not going to recase it with the pink one. And I don't have it with me. Again, sorry, Radiomaster. I'm traveling and visiting family at the moment. But the important thing to note with that space that you can see in the back here, I really think that this radio is going to be a good candidate for modifying and adding in internal modules. Now, this is a 250 milliwatt Express LRS module. I honestly think that you can probably fit the full 1 watt module that comes inside of the Boxer if you were to purchase that additionally. I think that this was a market segment thing. They wanted to make this the affordable radio. They're charging $65. I get it. But I think you might be able to get a full watt out of this guy with some mods. Now, I think, don't quote me here, I'll put the text at the bottom. I want to say that the RF module for a Boxer is around $30 to $40. So $65 for this radio plus a $35 upgrade module, $100, and you could have 1 watt in this teeny tiny form factor. Another thing, you might be able to fit something like a decased Crossfire module into this radio and have a knockoff Tango 2. Really, like, there's a lot of potential for modifying this radio in terms of the interior case dimensions. So, without talking about the radio anymore, I apologize. I don't have my chesty. I can't actually get the stick cam view. Oh, look at that. Wait. You can kind of see what I'm doing with the controller here. I am going to do 1 pack on this guy. I'm at a family member's house. The neighborhood isn't really the best place to rip around on a 5-inch. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to fly this little guy. I've got my Flywoo Firefly. I never made a video on this. I bought this with my own hard-earned cash, and I have flown the crap out of this little, I guess it's a 2-inch toothpick 2S setup, and I really like this kit. This is the HD0 variant of it. They make it with analog, walk snell. They even have one that runs a naked Vista on it. So I'm just gonna fly this guy around here and kind of talk about my experience while flying the radio. Now, one thing that I didn't mention before was the amount of LEDs. It's probably gonna be hard to see it in this light. You can kind of see how there's some white LEDs there. We got a green light around the screen. I'm just turning it off for comparison's sake. Let's turn it back on. You'll see the LEDs pop on. And an interesting thing is this 2-position switch, whenever you depress these, we also get a green LED indicating that it has been pressed in. So it's a neat little touch for you guys that like a bunch of LEDs on your radio. Yeah, nothing to hate on here. I gotta say, this is one thing that I absolutely love about Express LRS. With my binding phrase, for any of you people that haven't used it, that you're still on Crossfire or God forbid, FR Sky or Futaba or some other protocol, having the ability to use a binding phrase, and as long as the programming is good, which is pretty easy to do if you've been around this stuff for a while, I'm able to fly with my TX16S, my Radiomaster Pocket, or my Boxer, or even the Mamba with the Ranger module in the back of it, because they're all using the same binding phrase, and so you can kind of mix and match and go from module to module. So I could use my Boxer all the time, and if I go on a trip and I need to travel light and I just want to take this little guy and this, like these goggles, this little guy, and this controller, that's all I gotta pack. I don't need my whole bag full of kit. I don't need a big TX16S. I could have this as my little travel radio. And honestly, I think that might be the way that I end up using this radio. So let's not talk any more about it. Let's go be about it. The gimbals do not feel as tiny as they are. That is one thing. Like, once we get into the goggles and start flying, I'm gonna say that the feel of the radio, it is missing that distinctive AG01 clack when I go to roll or flip. I really like that in my stick footage when I do a flip or a roll with the AG01. You just hear those gimbals going clack, 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 clack all the way to the detents. Whereas with this guy, it is a little bit more muted, which makes the endpoints feel not as solid. But that's not the end of the world. The smoothness of the gimbals is still very nice. I don't feel like I'm missing anything in terms of fidelity. You know, the bottom line is a new radio is not going to make you a better pilot. I don't care what anyone says. The gear that you use does not make the pilot that you are. So feel free to use whatever radio makes the most sense to you. I hope that this video is helpful to you in deciding what that radio might be. I have flown a lot of radios, I have flown a lot of drones, a lot of video systems. The differences that you experience switching these around is really a subtle difference at the end of the day, and it just comes down to what are you comfortable with and what works the best for you. That is going to do it for my first look at the Radiomaster Pocket. I hope that you found this information helpful. I'm sure that you're going to see some more reviews out there about this. This is, it's a great new offering in the Radiomaster lineup. Where do I think it fits in? I think it fits in really nicely for someone who wants a smaller radio, doesn't need as many switches as the Zorro is offering, maybe doesn't even need the trim switches. It's nice to have, but you're not going to use them all the time. or you just want literally a pocket radio to take on the road with you with your whoop, or to go to your local bar where you do whoop racing. This is a good fit for that. For me, I'll be honest, I'm going to be sticking with the Radiomaster Boxer. I love the AG01 gimbals. I love that click that you get at the end of the travel. I love the battery life that comes with this guy. I can't speak to how long the batteries are going to last on the Pocket here. I would imagine that with the 18650s, the teeny tiny screen, I personally program this scroll wheel to be a brightness adjustment, so I can scroll it all the way down and just have the LEDs not come on to conserve battery. I think that the battery life should be really good. I don't know that it'll be as good as the Boxer, but I mean, that's really the best in class radio for battery life, so how mad can you be at it? For someone starting out that is on a tight budget, holy cow, this thing is really hard to beat. So yeah, there you have it. I hope that this video has helped you make a decision. If it has, and you want to go ahead and get the Radiomaster Pocket, links in the description. Those are affiliate links. They do help out this channel and help me out to continue making this content. Please click that. Even if you don't buy the Pocket, using those links, clicking it, going through to get FPV and buying some props or whatever it is you get also helps me out. So I appreciate everything you guys do. If you haven't already, subscribe to the channel. I've got some more cool videos coming up with some stuff that I want to be trying out. I know it's been a minute since I've made some videos, but I'm trying to get back into the swing of things. Maybe even be bringing back some hops and props. So stay tuned for that, and I'll keep you guys updated as it unfolds. All right, we'll see you guys next time.